chat, so as you guys know, we very recently did a little bit of coverage on the stream talking about the situation involving JF Gariepy. I think that's how you pronounce that. I always butcher his name. In fact, a friend of the channel, Ellen Degenerate, was recently making fun of me because I pronounced the name wrong. So I probably butchered the name again. If you're new to my channel, you'll just have to get used to that. I butcher names all the time. But we talked about this situation involving JF. We'll just call them JF since that's what they go by most of the time anyway. We covered the situation involving JF and the fact that their wife or girlfriend had gone missing, chat. Nobody knows where they are. It turns out that the Canadian authorities are looking for them, and so far we haven't heard anything, as far as I'm aware, in regards to their whereabouts. But this initially started because, or at least the way I found out about it, was this tweet by JF. The police in Canada are looking for Mama JF. That's what he referred to his wife as on stream. The police in Canada are looking for Mama JF because in true Mama JF fashion, she has left our home in June and has disappeared from the map. And that's where things were a little bit fishy for me already. Like, he's saying that she left in June and only now we're hearing about this in October, chat. It's October now and we're only now hearing about this. I'm sure that Mama JF is fine. I know she has been safe for at least 2 days after I dropped her where she wanted in June. So he's saying he dropped her off somewhere that she requested to be dropped off. Mama JF left our home entirely voluntarily to go live a life of adventure wherever it would bring her. But since she has electronically disappeared, not connecting to her cell phone or updating me or her family, I ask anyone who would have encountered her to just notify the police so that they can know she is safe. And I ask her if she wants to leave a note to the police, me, or her family to ensure everyone of her safety. If you want to send an encrypted tip anonymously, I can receive them at jfgariepy@proton.me. Okay, chat. So this is like where most people found out about this situation sort of unfolding. And, you know, we talked about it previously. We looked at a lot of the statements that they were making on their stream. We looked at an interview that they did with Andrew from The Crucible, and a lot of stuff's just not really adding up in terms of this whole situation. They're talking about how they left back in June. 2 days after they left, they kind of went off the grid, and they haven't really heard from them since. But, like, you know, everybody else is concerned about her whereabouts except him. He's just kind of like, well, she left of her own free will, so whatever. I'm not too worried about it. And a lot of people are really concerned because he's not super worried. But also, he stated that after she left, he did like a deep cleaning of his home. He went as far as to say he sanitized the home, which made people even more concerned. And I'm just going to come out with what a lot of the speculation is. A lot of people are speculating that he killed her. I mean, I'm not going to say that that's necessarily like what I think, because I'm not trying to get sued here, but that's the speculation from a lot of people, is that like he took her life and buried her somewhere where he's hoping that she won't be found. Okay, that's the speculation that a lot of people have. The only thing I'll say is this: if that's the outcome that ends up happening, considering how odd of a character JF is, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, let's just put it that way. I'm not going to say, you know, with any definitive statement of fact that she has lost her life at his hands or anything like that. But I will say that if it turns out that way, I genuinely wouldn't be surprised. So, chat, we did the coverage that we watched previously, or we covered previously of it. If you guys want to check that out, you can check out my previous video on this topic. But today, we're going to take a look at an interview that JF did with Lauren de Laguna. I think that's how you pronounce that. Not familiar with this person, but I'm hearing that this interview was interesting to say the least. And apparently JF gets like super, super upset during the course of this interview. So we're going to go ahead and dive into this. Before I do, though, I see Wendy Nerd in the chat says, do they have children? My understanding is, yes, they do have children together. And apparently that becomes a bit of part of the reason why JF gets upset during this interview, apparently during the interview beforehand, he had specifically asked this person, I don't want to talk about my kids. Could we not talk about my kids? And she still keeps asking about the kids. And he is not too happy about that. So in any case, we're going to go ahead. We're going to jump into this. We're going to have a listen to it and see what happens during this interview. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lauren de Laguna. I am so honored to be joined by JF Gariepy. We just went over how to pronounce your name, but it is a difficult. Why don't you pronounce it for the crowd?
Okay, at least I'm not the only one who fucks up his name, because I fuck up his name every single time. I'm glad I'm not the only one. This is gonna be a true crime story of this year, says Fembro. I mean, I hope not, because if that were to be the case, then that would mean that, yeah, she lost her life, and nobody wants to find out that somebody lost their life in that way. So I hope not, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how this plays out moving forward.
Jean-François Gariepy.
Beautiful.
Gariepy.
You said it. Wow, that is such an accent.
Gariepy. Is it just me, or does it seem like he's like flirting with this girl?
Yeah, it's a nice name.
Who's this this close to naked person on the thumbnail? Is that you?
Yeah. Do I not look like my picture? Do you think I'm catfishing?
Well, I don't know.
What is he talking about? The thumbnail?
Yeah.
What's the thumbnail look like? Oh, she's in like a bathing suit. Yeah, he's okay, chat. This doesn't make the situation look any better. This guy's wife is missing, and he's doing an interview with this woman, and he's instantly commenting on her appearance, and he's being kind of like flirty and stuff. Like, come on, my guy. What are you doing?
The weird face I wasn't really recognizing. So what motivated you to put yourself close to naked on the thumbnail?
That's a great question. I thought I was going to be doing the interview, but here you are. You're quite the interviewer.
This is not how somebody would act when their wife is, like, under normal circumstances. This is not how somebody would act if their wife had just disappeared and nobody knows where they are. Transgirl Jay in the chat says, why is he flirting with her if his wife is missing? That's a good question, right? It just makes the situation even more sus. Fembro says, didn't she debate Hunter Avallone? I don't know. Did she? I have no idea who this person is. Did she debate Hunter Avallone? And if so, what was the debate topic, and what was her position on it?
About my thumbnail pictures, the same time I was doing a photo shoot, and I forgot to bring a cover up, and I thought it would be funny, and I never realized I'd be interviewing someone about their missing wife, and here we are. So I have been using that same picture for other thumbnails as well. But anyway, I actually want to, before we get started,
I mean, it's good clickbait, honestly. You put a pretty girl in a bathing suit in the thumbnail, and you're probably going to get a decent amount of views. And considering she's got like 5,000 subscribers, and this video got 4.6 K views, I'd say that clickbait's working for a channel of her size. That's pretty respectable numbers.
Too deep into, this really painful situation that you're going through, because I really empathize. Like, I can't imagine what it must be going through to be dealing with a missing wife.
I mean, it must not be that painful if he's flirting with you. I mean, just saying. It was over trans stuff, if I recall. Okay.
I do want to get into who you are, because you're a fascinating person in yourself.
That's putting it lightly.
So can you tell me about like your education, your educational background, and your career?
Well, I'm a biologist, and I've done some research at the doctoral level on the brain, how the brain controls basic behaviors like respiration and locomotion. And I've always been interested. Ultimately, my question is, how does human society emerge from brain and biological reactions in the brain? That was what motivated my research career. And eventually, after doing my PhD on more basic stuff, I moved on to monkey research. So I started studying communities of monkeys, and I studied them while they were interacting socially to see what are the brain mechanisms behind monkey social interaction, because ultimately I see human society as a bunch of monkeys yelling at each other, threatening each other, and just forming alliances. So I thought that the monkey was a good model to understand what were the evolutionary roots of our complex political and social behaviors. I was not super satisfied by the amount of things I was let to do and the extent of the freedom that is left to an academic. When you're in the university, you have to submit a lot of your thinking to other people. You have to ask permission. You have to receive a grant from the government.
Midnight Kitty in the chat says, yeah, he doesn't look or sound concerned at all. That's been the most bizarre thing about this whole situation, right? Is you've got a guy who, you know, his girlfriend, wife, or whatever has been missing since June, and he seems to be not disturbed or bothered by this even in the slightest. That is not normal behavior. If my wife were to go missing for a few days, like, I'd be freaking the fuck out. And meanwhile, she's been gone since June. It's now October, and he's just like, it's whatever. I think what makes this even more suspect is his view on women and women's rights and stuff like that. He's one of these people that thinks that a husband should be able to have full control over their wife and the way they live their life and, you know, things of that nature. And then when he gets questioned on, well, why aren't you concerned about the whereabouts of, like, your wife and where she's at? He's just kind of like, well, you know, I can't really control her. If she wants to leave, she's free to leave, right? So, yeah, like, it's out of my hands. Like, how do you expect us to believe that a person that believes that he should have complete and utter control over his spouse, that he's just going to be like, well, she wanted to leave, so I let her leave. It's whatever, right? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I stopped caring about this, and I went on my own eventually and decided to...
Wendy Nerd in the chat says, Tip, you would be upset because you see your wife as a person. To him, she's a replaceable item. It's not even that much. You know, to say that he sees his... As fucked up as this sounds to say, all right, you have to get into the brain of someone like JF. He doesn't even see his wife as a replaceable item. Okay, that would be a more charitable interpretation of how he views women. He sees women as a tool for baby making, and that's it. If you know anything about his history, like, he has talked about how every woman that he's ever had any kind of sexual interaction with or any kind of intimate interaction with, it was strictly for the purpose of making babies. Like, there was even like an incident where he, like, basically talked a mentally impaired 19-year-old woman into leaving her family and moving to another state with him, specifically for the purpose of impregnating her. And this person was, like, mentally impaired to the point where they had the cognitive abilities of a 10-year-old. So, like, this is someone who doesn't think very highly of women at all. At the end of the day, he just sees them as baby-making factories, which is very dehumanizing to women, to say the least, and a very gross way to think of women, honestly.
Science on my own without caring about what the system would think about it, and discovering ultimately my ultimate contribution to biology is the Revolutionary Phenotype, which is a theory. Yes.
When was that published?
In 2018. So I went on my own and decided to design my own theory of biology to explain the very first event at the beginning.
Russell in the chat says Creepy Man might have offed his wife. I mean, well, that's what everybody else on the internet is thinking right now. They're looking at this situation. They're looking at the fact that, like, she, you know, according to him, chose to leave back in June. She agreed to stay in contact with him while she was away, made it seem like at some point she would come back, but she was going away on, like, a hiking adventure or something like that, or a hitchhiking adventure. And 2 days later, she decided, you know what? I'm not going to keep in touch with you anymore. I'm going to go off the grid and just kind of like abandon any ability to electronically trace her. And again, you know, she did this back in June. I believe he said June 19th is when she did this. And this entire time, he's just been going on, living his life, business as usual, cleaning his house from top to bottom, just acting as if nothing has fucking happened. And again, like, I can't emphasize this enough. We're talking about a man who thinks he should have complete and utter control of his woman. And when people press him on this issue of like, why are you not concerned that she's left? His response is just, well, that's the consequence of giving women freedom is, you know, she has the freedom to leave if she wants, and I can't do anything about it. You guys are trying to find her and she might not even want to be found. Like, these are his responses, which are very suspect responses. And he just kind of like, it's whatever. It's no big deal to him.
Beginning of a line of descent, the events that have happened 4 billion years ago on our planet and that gave birth to DNA-based life. And the theory that I present shows extremely worrying potential for the future of humanity, because it seems that we are about to engage in another phenotypic revolution. That is, the moment we start playing with our genes, the moment we start modifying babies genetically, we will be causing an event that will eventually turn us into a class of slaves for a centrally controlling computer that will modify us into puppets of its own, at its service. And that is a very dangerous direction that we're taking. And it all starts with a single...
Midnight Kitty in the chat says, I really hope the police are looking at him. He has stated that the police have been visiting him pretty much daily at this point. On some days, they visit him multiple times a day. He's claiming that he's not a suspect. That's what he claims. But honestly, what reason would the police have to visit him pretty much every day at this point for the past, you know, week or two or however long it's been? What reason would they have to visit him daily if they didn't at least suspect him as a possible suspect? You know, like, that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So they probably have him on their suspect list and he just doesn't know it.
Genetic modification of a single human being. And so the message of my book is, let us not do this. Let us accept sexual reproduction as humans and the importance of it for continuing what humans became, which is a complex, freely acting, freely thinking species.
CSO Hart says he's still talking about himself. Exactly. It's just so weird. Like, again, like, this is not how someone behaves when a loved one of theirs has gone missing, to the point that, like, police are doing, like, a nationwide search for her. Okay? Like, this guy's more preoccupied with talking about himself and telling his whole, like, life story and his life's work and stuff like that, instead of trying to get to the bottom of what the fuck happened to his missing wife. This is so bizarre. Like, holy shit.
Wow, that's really complex. I agree with you on a lot of points about like the modification of humans. I've previously discussed on this show eugenics in form of abortion. I think, for instance, we had Lila Hart's husband on, and Lila Hart has spina bifida, and so people like her would be exterminated. And so, you know, there's a lot of I haven't heard the theory that it would make us slave to machinery before, so I'd like to hear a little bit more about how that evolves from, you know, modifying human and playing God into becoming a slave to machinery.
Basically, there are two forms of evolution.
Figure she would be a fucking eugenics person. I mean, we're talking about someone who's literally like this guy, like, literally advocates for like a white ethno state and shit like that. Like, this guy is, it's not one of those where like somebody says that, you know, somebody's a member of the alt-right, and like oftentimes that term gets like overused to, you know, basically label anybody who's leaning towards the right as alt-right. Like, no, like, this guy legitimately is. And so it does not surprise me that he would communicate with people who have similar opinions as him, you know, in that regard.
You either evolve as the carrier of your own genes, or you evolve to serve another carrier. The example in nature that we have of this is basically all known animals versus bees and ants. When you look at bees and ants, something special
The
happens.
Undead Collective in the chat says not only is he still talking about himself, but she is encouraging him. I will say this. She does ask him some pretty pressing questions later on. And apparently that also contributes to him getting upset in this interview. But we'll get to that when we get there. Let's continue.
There to their evolution. Because a single bee or ant apparently doesn't care about dying if it helps the colony, if it helps the queen. And when you ask yourself, what is the difference? Why did bees become bee, and why did all the other animals become self-serving carriers of their own genes? And ultimately, it's because when you are an individual that serves a central entity's capacity to make...
Again, this is supposed to be a conversation about his missing wife. And that's not what we're getting here. He's just so about talking about himself.
Babies, when you have a queen, you are not evolving for yourself. You are evolving at the service of the queen. And so you must never find yourself in a situation where the source of...
Miss L says in order to gain one's trust, they have to get on their good side. You know what? That's a fair point, actually. I didn't think about it that way. That's a fair point, Miss L. Thanks for chiming in with that.
Your genes is another reproductive entity, and you're merely just a copy of it, a kind of blueprint produced copy of it that merely acts phenotypically. You must always be the reproductive agent in your chain of transmission, or else you become a sterile worker like the bees. So what I'm saying is that once a central AI...
I was just actually going to bring up the bees. I mean, the bees evolve, right? And they serve queens. So wouldn't they kind of disprove your theory a little bit, or no? What am I missing?
Well, I'm not saying it's not evolution. It is evolution. And a phenotypic revolution is still evolution. But I say it's the wrong type of evolution if you want free humans, if you want the kind of complexity.
John in the chat says no, Tipster. He's talking about genetic variations of freaks of nature. Other topic. He is making full of BS statements. Interesting.
That led to our civilization. Exactly. So if you want to see everyone starting to team up, self-sacrifice, shoot themselves dead after having accomplished their purpose for a central AI.
We're already 7.5 minutes in and still no mention of their missing wife.
Then you can go for that direction. But I'm saying it's the wrong direction if you like humans the way they are, which is a free thinking and creative species. So what would happen if we were to start genetically modifying ourselves is there would be a runaway where people do more and more genetic modification because it gets better and better for them. And they would increasingly need the contribution of AI systems that would decide what's a good gene, what's a bad gene. And ultimately, this AI system would at first serve us extremely well. And the people who would get those genetic modifications would effectively improve a lot. But at some point, the AI would start making trade-off decisions. What if I reduce a little bit the creativity of this guy? What if I make this guy just a mechanician? What if I make this guy just a janitor? What if I, when you play with the human phenotype and you start asking, what is the extra here? What could we get?
Extraordinary saying in the chat says, bro, your wife is missing and you're talking about AI. True. Again, like, I know I feel like I'm like repeating myself here. I feel like a little bit of a broken record, but like, I can't put myself in this mindset of my wife is missing. She hasn't been seen in months. Nobody knows where the fuck she is. The Canadian authorities are doing like a nationwide search for her. And I'm just here on a live stream chatting about genetics and my work background and my book and what the fuck? It doesn't compute in my brain. Like, if I were in his shoes, I would be freaking the fuck out. I would be going to hell and back to try and locate my wife. And he's just like, she's gone. What can I do about it? Like, this guy is not normal.
Get rid of. There's so much things we could get rid of.
Why would you
what I'm
need
explaining
human beings to do menial tasks if we have, like, if we're so advanced in technology at that point, wouldn't we have technology to be doing those menial tasks anyway? So why
exactly? So the AI would literally say, well, I have a better janitor than a human janitor, and here's your little robot. So that's the problem, where eventually, yes, this AI decides to replace us with something that's not even human. But along the way, what the AI does is a class system that is like that of bees, which is, all right, you are a
Is he like basically describing like Skynet right now? Is that what he's talking about? Oh shit.
specialized sterile worker, you are a carrier of food, you are a soldier, and that doesn't leave place for the complex human phenotype that anyone would consider basically is a human. It's not being human to not be able to go another way, to become creative in something that wasn't expected. And that is to me the gift of sexual selection. Because why have humans become so creative and capable of comedy and charming each other and creating amazing things that shock people and that change history? It's because ultimately we're looking for pussy. And we're doing so, we're trying to be...
What the fuck? Did he just say what I think he said?
And creating amazing things that shock people and that change history. It's because ultimately we're looking for pussy. And we're
I mean, true.
doing so, we're trying to be the most successful we can to attract more pussy to us. And in this search, in this eternal search for satisfying the other sex, we have springboarded ourselves into high intelligence, high technology civilization.
Okay. Find that interesting. Some of the more intelligent people that I know are less interested in sexual reproduction and like more, but I understand what you're saying. Like you're saying that like the more intelligent, more creative people have an easier time getting laid, and that's why we evolved to become more and more creative.
Yes, and I would say yes, in current society, high intelligence is probably a hindrance evolutionarily. So having a high intelligence in 2023 leads...
Corey Feiss in the chat says this guy is on crack. I mean, he's on something. I don't know if like he's taking some kind of like, opiates, or if he's like, maybe he smoked a little bit too much weed before this, or maybe he got dropped on his fucking head when he was an infant. I'm not really sure, but like something is not functioning properly in his head.
Leads to less babies on average. I believe that's because what we call intelligence today is kind of a form of malleability of the mind. Really, you're intelligent. Why? Because you can have a teacher insert whatever meme they want. And
Corey Feiss in the chat says he's French. You know what? Fair.
Your head, and you're able to repeat it at the moment of the exam. That's what being intelligent is today. When I talk of it,
we are 11 minutes in and still not a single mention of their missing wife. 11 minutes, not a peep about their missing wife.
Drive for intelligence that stems from sexual selection. I talk of what leads to a man 400 years ago being able to take some wood here, some stone here, some whatever there, and be able to hunt a deer with whatever he was collecting. That's the kind of intelligence that would get you a good woman then.
And that's all in your book?
You mean going into the wild hunting for deer? I'm able to do it?
No, but like these theories are all in your book.
Oh, well, this book is specifically, yes, about the problem of what happens when a piece of your body, when a computer you've created, or when whatever
Why don't you
around
show it to the camera? Why don't you show it off?
The Revolutionary Phenotype, the amazing story of how life begins and how it ends. So my book is about...
He's promoting his damn book. His wife is gone. She's been gone since June. And he's on this fucking stream promoting his book. Corey in the chat says, forget my missing wife, buy my book. It's literally that.
Sorry, what?
You said a couple of things. What is a good woman? Because you said, in order to get a good woman, what is like a good woman?
Well, a good woman is a woman who gives you excellent hope of having a chain of 10 babies before you die.
So a good woman is
10 babies? Why 10? What's the significance of the number 10? What?
a woman who is able to reproduce. Do you care at all about like her appearance, her intelligence, her how funny she is, how
Basically, all human beings, all males care about the beauty and appearance of women because this beauty and appearance is an indicator of their fertility over long term. So the younger, the more clear skin, the more young she appears within boundaries of being capable of producing babies now will be what's attractive to males. I'm not an exception on this.
So see, it's literally just that's his thought process of women. They're just baby making machines. So if you happen to be a woman in the chat, I want to know, like, what are your thoughts on his thoughts of women?
Okay, well, that's a lot about like the physical stuff, like her physical appearance. What about her?
Trans girl J in the chat says now he's diving into misogyny. Oh, that's putting it lightly, honey. That's putting it lightly. Like, you have no idea.
Like emotional or her intellectual? Do you care at all about that? Does that matter to you?
Being a very high IQ person and kind of a crazy genius type of guy, I am extremely charmed at complex female minds. But that is a rare thing. There's not much guys out there who care that much about it. Most people want to establish some kind of low level, I respect you, I kind of understand you type of relationship. I am stunned when I see special women, and I've known some of the weirdest women in my life. I've been working in a psychiatric clinic in my life, and so I've been exposed to extreme diversity of all the sorts of minds out there. There are women with delusions. There are women with a sense of dark humor that I would never see in. I would see only one in a million women who can do that kind of jokes.
Is that an attraction to you, a woman with a like for instance, like the type of women that you met while you were working in that psychiatric clinic, like women with interesting psychological needs?
If you know anything about JF's history, like, a lot of the women that he's engaged with in the past are women who have some type of mental impairment. And it honestly seems like the goal there is to pick women who are easy to manipulate, basically, because they are mentally impaired. I mentioned this earlier in the stream, but there was an incident where he basically took a 19-year-old girl. He was 32 at the time, and he took a 19-year-old girl who had the mental capacity of a 12-year-old. That's how mentally impaired they were. And he talked this young woman with the severe mental disability into leaving her family to go live with him in another state, just uproot her life and leave to live with him, literally for the sole purpose of him trying to impregnate her. Okay. Like, this is someone who very clearly preys on mentally impaired women. Not only that, but like the girl that we're talking about now, the one who's missing now, he talks about her like she's highly intelligent. But if you've ever seen any clips of her, we went over some of the clips in my previous stream. But if you've seen any clips of this woman,
for the money, you fucking simp.
This is not a highly intelligent woman, the way he describes. Thank you.
This guy is disgusting, NGL.
Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. But one in the chat, if you saw my previous stream and you remember the clips of this woman, and you can confirm that she is not all like mentally there. Like, he likes to try and tell people how intelligent she is. I'm sorry, I'm just not buying it, because we saw through those clips what kind of person she is. And just like pretty much every other woman we know that he's had any interaction with, she's not all there upstairs.
I never dated any woman that I encountered in the psychiatric clinic, but they gave me an idea of the diversity of what's out there. And Is that attractive to me? I would say that it's attractive to my scientific mind because I like being impressed by what the universe throws at us.
Just your scientific mind, JF? Really? You don't look at mentally impaired women and think that they're easy to manipulate for baby making? Is that really based on your history that you expect us to believe that, JF? Because your past speaks to the contrary.
And I find that any sort of what modern society calls dysfunctions is always reflective of a deep way in which the normal human brain works. And I love to see the difference when just one thing goes wrong or just one thing goes in a different direction in the brain. Imagine a normal brain, but plus delusion.
George in the chat says, I can confirm she's not all there. I went to a young adult school and there were more or less speech and one partially blind at the school. Interesting. If he's in the psych field, why is he in the field then? Why did he study it then? I'm not really sure, to be completely honest.
Imagine a normal brain, but plus a little desire to provoke. Imagine a normal brain, but no willingness to display anything to anyone. No care about what people think. Those are the kind of brain that I do find charming and fascinating. They come with sometimes their own problems and their own risks, but I find it amazing that we
Legendary 007 in the chat says, has there ever been a second in his life when JF didn't behave creepily? I don't think so. Because even he had a university job. Somebody in the chat, I'm sure somebody might remember where he worked. I don't recall the university, but he had a university job that he lost because he was having inappropriate sexual relationships. If I had to guess, he probably had a relationship because he was a professor or something. He probably had a relationship with one of his students or something, and he lost his job because of that. So this guy has a long history of really sussy shit, basically. Usually when it comes to women.
Have such a cognitive diversity in a species that otherwise has included in its dating patterns extreme selection. It's amazing how much a woman scans you as she decides whether she will get inseminated by you. You can go wrong on a lot of things. There's a lot.
Who talks about women like that? She scans you while she considers if she will be inseminated by you? I could see if he was saying, when you meet a woman and, maybe they're attracted to you and they're considering, whether this is somebody that they potentially want to try to date or something like that, then I can see that argument. I would even go as far as to say that's true. I think a lot of people do that actually when they meet someone that they are, attracted to and potentially interested in, having a dating relationship with, and they kind of observe them a little bit to decide if it's something they want to move forward with. And it's a pretty normal thing. But to not say that, to say, she's scanning your behavior to decide if she wants you to impregnate her. This guy, what is wrong with his fucking head? Normal people don't think like this.
A lot of sentences you could drop that's going to be a deal breaker forever. She might slap you in the face. And despite that extreme sexual selection happening at the moment of dating and the decision of insemination, we have kept an amazing amount of diversity running and living among us. And to me, that's an illustration that this diversity serves something. I don't think that autism, schizophrenia, and all these things, I don't think they exist for nothing. I think they have a role, and it's a form of specialty.
Did you see that? She's waving somebody off screen. I wonder what that's about. Is somebody trying to get her to ask about the wife or something? That was kind of weird.
It's a niche that we are exploiting.
You said you're autistic last night, right?
Well, I mean, I don't consider myself clinically autistic. I consider myself, though, having the personality aspects of someone who doesn't like social interactions very much, very analytic brain. I have these specific interests that I become very passionate about. So I guess you could say I have these features, but I don't consider them clinical features at all.
So what he's saying is he's autistic.
I have AUTISM, autism.
Yeah.
Okay. With the women that you have dated in the past, have you noticed a pattern of, like, because you find these types of attractions interesting, these mind attractions interesting, have you found that the women that you have dated tend to have had, various mental disorders?
Good question.
No, but I would say I am open. And being an open guy has attracted women like this to me at different times in my life. But I wouldn't say that I seek them. This is something that women have a hard time understanding. But
I don't know, JF. I don't know, my guy. Your history seems to speak a very different. Your history seems to speak very differently. I mean, even if you focus specifically on the 19-year-old girl who had the mental capacity of a 10-year-old, it seems like you very specifically do target women with mental deficiencies, women who are easily manipulated because of said mental deficiencies. I mean, you literally got this 19-year-old girl when you were 32 years of age to leave her family, just to uproot her entire life to go live with you. Again, let me emphasize this, with the sole intent to impregnate her. Chat. 32-year-old man, mentally impaired 19-year-old girl with the mental capacity of a 10-year-old, getting her to leave her life behind to come live with him and have a baby with him. It really does seem, based on your history, that you do intentionally seek out these types of women, JF. I'm sorry, I don't think anybody's buying that.
you women are choosing your males, right? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you can tell me about how you date, but it's my impression that you do a lot of selection. Do you?
I do. Yes, I'm pretty.
So tell me about the criteria. Like,
I think she's playing. Okay, tell me if I'm wrong here, chat. But I think she's like playing into his flirtations and being kind of cutesy with him to make him feel a little bit more comfortable. So later on, when she goes to ask more pressing questions, it's almost like the whole concept of boiling a frog alive. As the temperature slowly rises, the frog doesn't like realize what's happening to them. I think it's that sort of thing. She's like playing into his flirtation to kind of like lure him in to the conversation and kind of catch him off guard. As Heavy Gretel in the chat says, she's lulling him into a false sense of security. Exactly. It really does come off that way.
if you were to establish whether you,
And I mean, she's a good looking gal, so she can pull it off. And clearly he's like none the wiser.
you accept a man, what would you be looking for first?
What would I be looking for first? I think this might sound shallow, but I think originally I would want.
It's like I said, it's so weird. It's so fucking weird. He's been jumping from show to show to talk about, because what he was on Andrew's show, The Crucible. He went on Dick Masterson's show recently to talk about this, and now he's on this show. He's been jumping from show to show to talk about his missing wife. And so to go on this show while his wife is still missing, look at the look of glee on his face as he talks to this, I think we can all agree, pretty good looking woman, right? And he's being, somewhat flirtatious during this conversation. Like, how do you show your face on a show like this and literally, like, be super flirty with this girl while your fucking wife is missing? While your wife is missing.
Sort of physical attraction, some sort of chemical attraction, and then after that I would like an intellectual attraction. So and for me, I would like my partner to be like sufficiently intellectual so that I can have interesting conversations with them, so that I can know that we're on the same page when it comes to difficult decisions.
The way he's like nodding and grinning, he's like, got her.
And so that's something that's attractive to me, like someone who is mature enough to be in a emotional relationship, someone who's mature enough for fatherhood, someone like, these are important qualities for me. Yeah.
Well, the way most males approach the dating world is not to
Okay, I want to hear this. I'd like, because this guy has a very warped view of like courting women and how he views women and stuff like that. As I mentioned before, he views women as purely being baby making machines. So I'm really interested to hear his view on how men seek out women to date. Obviously, you know, there's different guys look for different things. So some guys want a girl to settle down with and, you know, spend the rest of their life with. Some guys just want someone that's like really hot that they can hook up with, or, you know, everybody wants something different out of a relationship. But I'm genuinely interested, based on like what we know now, or we know up to this point, about the way he thinks about women and stuff like that. I'd like to see what his views are on the dating habits of men.
Even have that degree of complexity on what they want. If you push them, and they will try to make up a story like, oh yeah, I like girls like this or like that, just to satisfy you that they have criteria. But the reality of male dating in this world is that any woman that is at a minimal standard above a threshold that we have in our brain in terms of beauty, we will fuck. That is just what...
Oh my God. Oh God. What? Holy shit. Okay.
Dating is for males. And so, yes, because you have that rule, and because I'm an open guy, it means to sometimes bizarre women that I have dated. But it's not my fault because I'm open. Like, people sometimes reproach to me that I am for cognitive diversity and that I am respectful of people with different minds. I don't get it.
I understand. No, it's being non-ableist, which, you know,
exactly.
is... Okay, do you mind if I take a minute to read super chats, and then we'll do the same
go
thing
ahead.
at the 40th minute mark. So we'll do it every 20 minutes. So let's start. Mashallah, Mama JF was sent to Israel this morning. Let's all, you know, say prayer for Israel, seriously, or a nice thought for Israel. To Lauren's Better Microphone Soundproof Room Fund, I had a wonderful microphone which broke on the way here, which broke on the drive to Miami.
You can never let a guest have better audio than you. That is a no-no in the streaming business.
It's okay. You have a great studio. You have a show. You've been doing it for a while. I'm new to the...
She's really, really stroking his ego, and he's really, really loving it, chat. Look at that.
New to the scene. But, you know, you followed me on Twitter before I followed you. So
is that the new status on Twitter? Who follows first? Mexican stand-up.
Should the less intelligent be able to get into relationships and have children? What's your opinion on that? Do you think...
Oh, absolutely.
So you think like if someone is like, let's say like a 50 IQ, do you think that they should have the ability to have kids?
Yes, I radically oppose to any adult human being being interfered by the judgment of others on their decision making, no matter how bad you may think it is.
Doesn't surprise, given his history, it doesn't surprise me at all that that's his take.
Alrighty. And I understand that to a certain point, because, you know, you have a constitutional right to be a parent, but then again, like, for instance, if somebody has harmed children in the past, you could lose the right to be a mother in the future or father in the future if you've shown to be abusive towards children. But you're right. If you haven't committed a crime yet, if you're just low IQ, then, you know, you have a good point there. Let's try this one. Okay, so this one is a little bit dark. I'm sorry, but I did say to the...
Wendy Nerd in the chat says, I oppose any restriction on people making decisions unless they're women, of course. True. That is the way he views it. Very, very true.
Nice audience. I'm going to raise the price to $5 now. So JF equals Coomer, who knocked his wife.
So at least if you insult me, you have to pay $5 for it.
Now you have to pay $5. It's not just $2 anymore. Okay, ask JF about his... So we did, before the show, say that we weren't going to talk about kids. People have been asking me all day, you know, are they safe, or are you still taking care of them? I know that you said that you wouldn't get into that. So if you don't want to, you don't have to, but that's just a question I've been getting all day.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty, let's go on then. So we'll do the same thing at the 40th minute mark.
So that's one thing that he agreed with, or she agreed with him before the show, is that they wouldn't talk about his kids. And so that's why he just kind of like hand waved that away, that he wasn't interested in talking about that. Which honestly, in fairness to him, like, yeah, if you're in this like online sort of sphere as a content creator or public figure or whatever, it probably is best to keep your kids out of the spotlight, keep family out of the spotlight. There's some very malicious people out there on the internet. So, honestly, I don't blame him for that, for not wanting to talk about the kids. In fairness, I can understand that request personally.
Can you tell me about, as I've been doing some research, I learned about a prior girlfriend. So first of all, Mama GF isn't your wife, right?
She's not technically my wife. We are not married. We are common law spouse, but I consider that she is my wife.
By common law spouse, how long have you lived together? And is there like a statute within the place that you reside that allows you to like have some sort of legal connection for it to be considered a marriage of sorts?
We are together since 2018. We are common law spouse by the standard of the government, but that's not what I care about when I say I consider her a wife. I just consider that our interests in life have been tied forever by the time we have spent together, and I consider that I will always defend her interest and that we are bound to each other forever. Even if she gets other boyfriend, I consider that we are. There is no way to detach what has been done in reality and what has been produced from our union.
That's beautiful sentiment. I really love that. Is there a reason that you didn't get?
That's really interesting, honestly, to hear him talk about his wife that way when he just spent the past, like, how long? 20 minutes or so, basically describing women as baby making machines, and that's their only purpose in life.
Marriage? Is it because of the ideology that?
And also it makes it even weirder that he would describe it in that way, considering, again, his wife is missing and like he just seems not to care at all.
You're not really a proponent of government?
Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly need marriage. I don't think that at this point marriage means anything in and of it as a legal entity these days. So to me, marriage is a strategic question. And it's a strategic question about who has the most money and who, on the other hand, will be potentially draining the money of the other when the divorce happens and the assets are split. And so marriage in and of itself has no meaning to me.
Heavy Gretel in the chat says, yeah, once you make babies together, you're stuck with that you made them with in one way or another. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Me, the legal aspect of it. To me, marriage, what matters about it is the commitment between the two humans. And that commitment can be done in front of a tree, in the forest, in a park. I don't care.
But you've been married before, right?
Yes, because there were times in the past where marriage was a good strategic decision in terms of combining assets, in terms of living in the same country, in terms of, all these legal advantages. And there are then other times of my life where marriage ended up not being the solution because the distribution of assets between the two spouses is ultimately what determines who has leverage in a marriage.
He thinks of marriage almost like it's a business decision, which is a very odd way to think of marriage, like.
And is your missing girlfriend, is she your first baby mama?
Well, I've already indicated to you that I would not answer anything concerning children. So.
Oh, okay. I didn't think. Sorry, I was trying to get around asking kids, but I was trying to see if there was like because I don't want to ask anything that would like expose your family, but I do want to know like your relationship history
What-
and if you have.
What I often say is I am really satisfied by life. I have produced many projects, family projects that I'm satisfied with through many families, and I have an extreme gratefulness for what the physical universe gave me in terms of links to these projects.
I understand. Okay. I understand he doesn't want to talk about his kids, which again, I totally understand that, you know, keeping your family out of the spotlight. I get that. Okay. But like, even if you're trying to avoid talking about your kids, like who describes their children as projects? What?
Okay, that's
He speaks of kids in exactly the same predatory manner he uses to speak of women. Yeah, right?
interesting. Projects is an interesting term to use when describing familial life, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can you tell us about your daily routine right now? Like what you're doing on a day to day now that you're living the way you are?
Well, I've always been an intellectual, so I spend a lot of time thinking. I prepare my show. I promote my book. I'm also a mathematician and a computer programmer. So I do a lot of contract work where companies need solving of complex mathematical problems, and I really love this. So yeah, I live a very satisfying life intellectually.
Can you tell me like what your day looks like? So
I'm probably going to pronounce your name wrong, so I apologize in advance if I do. Is that even Segura? Sorry. She got so uncomfortable. Yeah. That's what's crazy about this is like it feels like she's like, you know, as I mentioned before, she's kind of playing into his like ego and stuff like that and playing into his flirtation in order to make him like feel comfortable, but she couldn't do that with the way he commented on, you know, his kids, referring to his kids as projects. Like that even made her uncomfortable, right? She couldn't maintain the facade for that description of his children. It was very fucking weird. Very weird.
like what time you wake up in the morning and then what you do when you wake up and then what you do throughout your day.
Well, I wake up, I wake up at maybe noon, and then I start checking if I have work, if I have things that need to be resolved. I take care of all the household duties.
Heavy Grotto in the chat says, babies are not projects, they are literal people. Yes, exactly. Like, building a shed in your backyard is a project. Building a deck addition to your home, that's a project. Maybe something you're working on for your employer, like, that's a project, okay? Making babies is not a project. Like, what the fuck?
Of everything that's important in life and that's in the house. And then I think about problems, and slowly as I see that I have less and less work to do, now I can release my mind a little bit and start thinking, what will I talk about on the stream tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time? So eventually an idea of what are the big news items today, what could we talk about, or sometimes I'm just shocked by a random idea that I want to talk about,
I'm not going to lie, chat. Like, I am genuinely disturbed by his behavior.
The main theme of my show of the night. That is pretty much how my day looks. And then after the show, I go on resolving mathematical stuff, programming, developing efficient applications that are needed by companies that have requested them to me. And then I sleep.
Okay. You live by yourself?
Yes.
Yeah. And how have you been? Because you mentioned on a different show that you've been I do want to make sure that you've been doing okay, because I would imagine losing your wife. So you used to live, with your wife, your entire family, and now you're living by yourself. How are you doing emotionally? How are you doing mentally? You also have an empty fridge, you said, and you're doing a lot of takeout. I would imagine this is a really tough time. So
What
I'm
is
just like,
this takeout thing? I don't do
Yeah.
takeout.
what do you do to feed yourself?
Oh, just because I mentioned in the pre-show that I went to the restaurant.
Oh, no. On a different, no, I'm not using stuff
Oh,
from
okay.
the
You were
pre-show.
asking if okay. I thought you were stating that I said that I was doing takeout. No, I actually there's not much takeout options around where I live.
And what are you're
Of
just going
course,
to restaurants today?
the description of my fridge was an exaggeration that I've done on a show to describe the fact that I felt relieved that my fridge was no more packed with extreme amounts of vegetables. Of course, my fridge is filled with plenty of food, and I am in no need of care, supervision, or empathy, or need of concerns around my survival and my household.
Well, I mean, having a missing wife, I would imagine, would be extremely difficult. No?
For a normal person, yeah. Absolutely. Like I said, if my wife was like, if she had gone missing and she had only been gone for like, a couple days or so, I'd be freaking out. I would use every resource I had available to me to try and find her until she got found. I'd probably have trouble sleeping. I'd probably have trouble eating. Like I'd be very like physically ill because all of my concern is focused on where is my wife? Why is she missing? What do I need to do to find her? Right? But with him, he just like, it's whatever, business as usual. She is where she is, and I'm sure she's fine, and she doesn't want to be found, but people are trying to find her anyway. And normal people do not behave like this when there is a nationwide fucking manhunt for your fucking missing wife, my guy. Like, this is not normal.
I live well because while my wife is missing, she has been missing from a trip that she has engaged in consensually. So, my wife left.
The fact that he keeps like feeling the need to emphasize that too, that she left consensually of her own free will, the fact that he feels the need to keep saying that over and over and over again, it just makes it even weirder. Right? Like it just makes it the whole situation a little bit more uneasy. The fact that he just keeps he feels the need to keep repeating that.
Mama JF left consensually. She wanted to go away, and I'm fine with what she has decided. I don't have to have worries for her because I trust that she has all of the survival skills to survive on her own, even if she doesn't want to communicate with me. So the person who has...
All right, chat, I have to bring this up again. I know we already looked at this in the previous coverage that I did of this, but I have to bring this up again. So he's talking about her like she has the mental capability to have these type of survival skills needed to kind of make it through this like situation. I want to make it crystal fucking clear. I'm not trying to make fun of somebody for their mental impairment or anything like that, but I want to play you guys one clip of Mama JF and ask you guys, do you think that this person has the mental capability of surviving on their own in a situation like this where they've gone missing?
Chat. K. Max McDonald says, Mama Jeff, what is your background? What country do you derive your ethnic heritage from?
I can answer that. Before, I had a bad life, but then after I discovered GF, Then I started to look at GF every day. I was always looking at GF. I became crazy. I lost everything I had. I lost my job, my family. I quit school. I lost everything. I was just looking at GF all the time. I was crazy. And then after I wrote to him, I said, GF, I want to suck your dick. And then he told me. And that's my background.
Chat. He wants you to believe that this woman has the mental capacity and knowledge to survive in the wilderness on her own. Chat. He's even gone as far as to jokingly refer to her as a 00 agent, like 007 Mama JF. Okay.
Declared my wife missing is a group of policemen. It is not me. As far as I'm concerned, my wife told me she was going away, and she seemed to be wanting this. So I don't consider her missing. I simply consider her not wishing to contact me.
Yeah. Do you mind if we just I know you've already gone over the story, but do you mind if we go over it again just because?
Yeah, we can go over it.
So June 17th, that's when you drop her off, right?
Yes.
And where exactly did you drop her? You don't have to say the geographical location, but did you drop her off at the bridge or at the gas station? Because I think that was a point of contention.
I dropped her off at a gas station that is located at the very entry of an important bridge in Canada.
Okay. And when you went to that,
I talked about this during the last stream where we talked about the situation. And so the scenario that he gives is his wife had been preparing for this adventure that she's gone on for quite some time. And then one day she finally approached him and said, I'm ready to go on this trip that I've been preparing for a while now. I want you to take me to this gas station and drop me off. And from there, I'm going to go on this adventure. I'm going to go hitchhiking and just kind of survive on my own. I'm going to go on this survivalist trip. And he just he took her where she wanted to go and he let her go. And the comment I made is that...
The money, you fucking simp.
Thank you.
Rain Power and Amodi donated $10. Look, I was in the BSA and I wouldn't have the skills to survive for a month. If she has been missing since June, then she's either dead or got help from someone who actually loves her.
Thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it. But essentially, what I said is if my wife came to me and was like, hey, I want you to drop me off at this gas station so I can go on an adventure, hitchhiking, go wherever the fuck I want, and then I'll just come back whenever I feel like coming back, I would probably look at my wife and say, babe, I love you, but what the fuck has gotten into you? What are you talking about? You think I'm just going to pack you up in the car? You're going to pack up a little backpack full of supplies and we're just going to get in the car and I'm going to drop you off at a gas station so you can go hitchhiking and shit? No, that's not normal, babe. This isn't happening. And I'm going to do what I have to do to talk her out of it, right? But with him, he's just like, oh, you want me? Yeah, sure, whatever. No big deal. What the fuck? When you have a loved one who's doing something insane, you don't let them do the insane thing. You try to talk some sense into them. What? You know what I mean?
that gas station, did you pump any gas?
Did I pump in any gas? I don't remember. I may have. I may not have also, because we're talking about a 1-hour drive. So I would have to check my credit card. But because I've never needed to check for it, because I know that the police who have investigated this drop-off, they know that it happened. So I don't have to make further proofs that it happened. That
was another one of his defenses, chat. Another defense he has is like, well, I specifically dropped her off at a gas station in front of a security camera, almost like he was trying to like cover his own ass. But again, it's like, it's the way he keeps like emphasizing that makes it even more suspect. Well, well, why did you feel the need to make sure it was in front of a security camera unless you thought that you might be suspected of doing something worth drawing suspicion your way, right? It's just kind of like, come on, dude. Like, it's weird. It's really fucking weird.
I've understood that it was true, that I did drop my wife on June
What-
17th at this gas station.
Like they have like video evidence from the gas station.
I don't know what they have, but I know that they believe me.
How do you know that?
Well,
Yeah.
because they have affirmed that they have had a sighting of Mama Jeff 2 days later at some other place that is totally in line with where I dropped her, and imagining that she has continued her way after this gas station.
Yeah.
So there is no
guess.
question that she was with me on June 17th.
That makes it even more suspicious, though, right? Because he was the last person who saw her, right? And not only that, but before she went missing, he was the last person that spoke to her.
There is no question then that she was somewhere else.
And when you dropped her off, what was she with her? What was on her? What was on her person?
Well, I didn't quite remember what she was wearing, but now that they have had a sighting of her and someone described her clothes as maybe because they saw her on a camera, I now remember that she did have some dark pants and a full leather jacket, as they call it. And she did have also a backpack with stuff that she was planning to use to survive during her travel.
Can you describe the jacket more?
It was a jacket that was kind of the jacket you would expect on a homeless, poor person. A very ugly jacket, kind of looking like ridiculously cowboy-like or hobo-like.
How long has she had that jacket?
I think she had it forever since we know each other, but it's not the jacket that she would wear in our relationship.
Now we're getting to the hard questions, chat. She's got him feeling nice and comfortable, right? With all the, playing into his flirtation and stroking his ego and stuff like that. And now, like, she's asking the hard questions.
It's a jacket that she had stored in our home, and she put it on at some point as part of her plan to leave and live on the streets or travel the way she wanted to.
Oh, so you're saying that you wouldn't have any pictures of her wearing that jacket, or like people wouldn't have seen her in that jacket during the time that you guys were dating?
No, I've never seen her wearing that jacket except the day she left.
Okay. All right. So then she left. She took her phone with her when she left, right?
Yes.
And you guys were communicating throughout the day on June 17th, 18th, and 19th?
Maybe there was a day where we didn't communicate, but yes, I generally knew that she was okay during these 2 days.
How did you generally know that she was okay? Were you calling each other? Were you texting?
Well, because, for example, I don't know if we have a texting on the 18th, but we certainly have a texting on the 19th, which means that she was okay on the 18th also,
Can you show us your text, or can you send me the text? Because
no, this is something that's easily capturable by the police and that I couldn't possibly lie on. So I don't think I need to make my case.
Why is he afraid to show the text messages? Like, what would be the harm in just showing the messages to prove that you had these conversations with your wife that you said you had? I don't understand what would be the harm in that.
To the public, showing some very private conversation that includes private elements to it. I don't think I need this to convince anyone that this is true. The police is able to capture our text anytime they want.
there's like this thing that you could do on your phone where it blurs out all of the messages except for one. So for instance, I text this loser named Amy, and I can like hide all of the text except for one and do this, and see like, hey, can you do that?
No, I'm not showing my phone.
Oh,
I
okay.
am.
I'll stop. Sorry, like I'll stop.
It is so
I don't understand why he's so like afraid to just show the text messages to prove that these conversations between him and his wife happen.
ridiculous. It is so ridiculous as a request when even the police doesn't question this narrative. They know that they could know, and it's not even if I was blurring or not blurring. They could get those messages from the cell phone company. They could.
He's extremely uncomfortable showing the text. Yeah, literally, look at the way like she kept like, "Hey, I can do this like blurring thing." Look at the way he behaves. Chat, look at this.
All of the text except for one, and do this, and see like
You could
hey,
physically
see
see
that?
how uncomfortable he is.
No, I'm not showing my phone.
Oh, okay.
I am.
I'll stop. Sorry, like I'll stop.
It is so ridiculous. It is so ridiculous as a request when even the police.
How is that a ridiculous request? You're telling us that you think your wife is fine, that you had these communications with your wife that indicated to you that she was fine before she disappeared, and they're just like, "Yo, can you show us these communications?" What is the harm in just showing the text messages? You're just making yourself look even more guilty by being, no, I don't really want to do that. Like, dude, like, what the fuck?
Doesn't question this narrative. They know.
I could understand if there were like private parts of the conversation you don't want to show those. Just show something to indicate that these communications actually happened. Like, I don't understand why that's so difficult.
They could know, and it's not even if I was blurring or not blurring. They could get those messages from the cell phone company. They could check whether I'm lying, and don't worry, they will. So no.
Heavy Gretel in the chat says that's actually a very normal thing to request in the middle of an internet discourse murder mystery. Yeah, I mean, I've seen people demand screenshots of private conversations for significantly less suspicious activity. Okay? So the fact that this guy is suspected of potentially murdering his wife and he's like refusing to show anything that backs up the claims that he makes in the situation, like this is very weird and just makes him far more sus.
I'm not going to show my cell phone to convince people on the internet. You guys cannot believe me if you want for months, and then eventually you'll realize that you were wrong. I really don't care.
No, it's such a difficult situation, and there's so many men who have been in a very similar situation where they were just loving partners to a woman, and the woman was either kidnapped or gone missing or just left, and the man was accused of some egregious crime. And then there's been other times when the man, because stats. But then I also listened to your interview last night with Andrew about your feelings.
Heavy Gretel in the chat says, the police have already seen them. Was that a good impersonation, chat? Was that a good impersonation? Oh my God, how do we know that? You're talking to the court of public opinion, not the cops, my dude.
On stats and about your feeling on how it's parasitic to think about crimes in terms of stats when each crime is...
This is the guy who very famously said, "It's called love, you idiot."
Individual offense. So I have a lot of empathy for your situation. I'm surprised that you're not more emotional about it.
Well, welcome to my life. I'm one of the least emotional men on earth right now.
Why?
Like generally, I am a low emotion guy, what people call a low affect person. I am a rational mind. That is what makes me a great scientist. I have great contributions to do to the world thanks to that aspect of my mind. And on the other hand, I can stay with my head on my shoulder in emergency situations like the one we are in right now. Shouldn't we be thankful that there are people like me? I mean, you want someone like me to be your ambulance guy when you get a heart attack.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, if I were a woman seeking out a partner, no, I would not want a man who goes on a live stream and flirts with another woman while I'm missing. That is not what I would want if I were a woman. What the fuck?
You seem very intelligent. You seem very calm-nerved. To be fair, I think some of the best nurses end up being serial killers, but so you know, just because you might be the best at saving someone's life doesn't mean
that
you're also
probabilistic
not a
bigotry.
sociopath.
I
No,
don't
it's
know what
true.
you think you
Like,
can
for
accomplish
instance-
with this. It's not intelligent to do this.
No,
It's not
I mean,
intelligent to
it is
throw
true.
accusations completely freely,
I'm
gratuitously.
not
I could
throwing
do the same
accusations.
accusation. I could come here and say there's lots of women who are crazy. So you're
Remember, chat, he just said that he's like the least emotional person or whatever. That's probably not the words he used. I'm paraphrasing, but you get what I'm saying. And look at how upset he is now. He seems like he's kind of triggered, chat.
probably crazy too. But I don't do it because I respect you.
Accusations. I'm just saying that I think it's funny because the characteristics that you're highlighting, calm-nerved, which is good for.
He doesn't really seem that intelligent to me. Nominal Naomi mopped the floor with him. Oh, that debate that Nominal Naomi did with him not too long ago. Yeah, that was such a good debate. Highly recommend checking that out, guys, if you haven't checked that out already.
Stressful situations. It is true, but it doesn't also mean that you're not capable. But I mean, it means the human mind is interesting, and you would know this, right? You would probably know much, much, much better than me, as you are the doctorate in this, and I am I got a general education with some psychology, so I probably have a little bit less. Oh, anyway, so do you think? Let's just take a break. Let's do some super chats and we'll come back. We'll check this out. Okay. Why would your wife abandon her kids? I mean, I know you don't want to talk about kids, but can you at least acknowledge that is a crime? Like, why would she commit a crime? So we don't have to let's not talk about the kids, but why would she be okay with committing some egregious crime that harms others?
Listen, you're deluded.
Okay.
I'm
not. I'm really trying to be respectful. I'm not trying to be rude at all. But seriously, how am I deluded? Because I'm trying. It is a crime.
Because you're attributing crimes to things that you don't understand at all. You don't even meet a standard of prima facie case for a crime. It is not a crime to travel. Is it a crime to go to LA? Is it a crime to travel to LA?
Wait, hold on.
He's so mad, chat. He's so fucking mad.
Prima facie. Could you explain?
Yeah, exactly. You know nothing. You're stupid. You are extremely stupid. It's like worse than talking to a monkey.
I've never heard the phrase prima facie.
Yeah, because you don't know Latin and I don't have time to teach you.
No, you're right. I'm so stupid. Anyway, it's hard being this dumb sometimes, but thank you for having the patience to talk to me. But I do know that it is a crime to abandon your kids. And
I hate to laugh because, again, we're talking about a missing woman here, and I really hope she's okay. By some chance, I hope she's okay. But, like, holy shit.
Jay seems like a really wonderful woman, and I triggered him that bad. He left. I was really trying. He rage quit. Okay.
You did great.
I tried my best, Amy.
You literally did nothing. There's nothing. You were being so respectful.
Was I? I was trying.
I mean, you pushed him a little bit more. Obviously, it's not going to be a play session. You did good, but I mean, you were not being rude. You were being offensive in any way.
I think he started getting nervous after the jacket question. I think he was pulling that out of his ass, kind of. I don't know. I think after that, the tone.
Chat, he was simping for her so hard in the beginning of the conversation.
Fucking simp.
And it ended with a hell of a lot of cope.
You are coping and seething. You just can't accept what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping and seething.
What the fuck was that?
Scalding, and now you are molding and coping. coping so hard.
You dumb cunt.
I want to run it back to that moment again, chat, because oh my god.
That's prima facie. Can you explain?
Yeah,
to me?
exactly. You know nothing. You're stupid. You are extremely stupid. It's like worse than talking to a monkey.
I've never heard the phrase prima facie.
Yeah, because
before.
you don't know Latin and I don't have time to
Yeah.
teach you.
No, you're right. I'm so stupid. Anyway, it's hard being this dumb sometimes, but thank you for having the patience to talk to me. But I do know that it is a crime to abandon your kids. And Mama J seems like a really wonderful woman. And he... Fuck, I triggered him that bad. He left. I was really trying... He rage quit.
Chat. I don't know about you guys, but for me, that makes him look a little bit more sus than he already looked. He got so fucking mad. Holy shit. Again, I know it's funny to laugh at or whatever, and it is funny, but like I truly hope that Mama JF is okay. I hope that what people are speculating that he may have done to her, I hope it's not true, obviously, and I genuinely hope that she's found safe, right? But geez Louise, he got so fucking triggered. Holy shit.